Hey everyone, I'm Jeff-McErlain, and today I want to talk about creativity and the power of a mistake. If you like my channel, please hit like and subscribe and go over to JM Guitar Lessons. This track that I'm playing over here is something I came up with, and for this video, I decided to just press record, turn on the camera, and what I played is what you heard. Sometimes you go on Instagram, and I fall prey to this too, you see some guy playing this most amazing, perfect thing, and not to take away from their art or something, very oftentimes it's worked out, and there's how many takes behind it you don't even know. And it can give you a false sense of reality, of what performance and being a musician is like. So it's really, really important to know that what you see is not always what you're getting, right? So, for instance, you think about David Gilmour, one of my absolute favorite guitar players of all time. His solos are all worked out. He plays over the track, finds things that he really likes, and then pieces together what he considers a perfect guitar solo. And that is absolutely freaking awesome because they're always perfect. Like one of my favorite guitar players in the whole world. But that is different from someone who is freely improvising over a track. When people say they improvise over something, it's something they've done before in some way, right? So this track I've played over all these chords before. I've kind of messed around with these things. I hadn't played over this in a while, and I just decided to let the track run and see what would come out. The main thing that I'm trying to do here is allow myself the space to be creative and make mistakes. So the number one problem that people do is you start to edit what you do as you're playing. You make a mistake, and then you get like internally embarrassed, or you just shut down, you get in your own head, and you stop. And then you get frustrated, and then you turn on your phone, you turn on the internet, all the same stuff I do. So I need to make sure I take the time to put aside to be creative. So for a track like this, I may play over it for a few hours or maybe a few days and keep on playing over it to see what I can get out of this and what starts to happen. I will start to find like particular lines or ideas that I really like that I may end up using if I'm going to record this or perform this live. So here's my point. So if I'm performing this live like I did today, it was improvised, but it is also the experience that I've had prior to playing on this, or the experience I've had playing guitar prior to this. So you may say, well, Jeff, I'm just kind of beginner or an intermediate and I don't have those skills. It doesn't matter. You want to practice the art of playing. One of the biggest lessons I learned from playing with Robben Ford and being good friends with Robben is he does that. It's a really striking thing for me when you in a room with him and you're playing. He's not thinking about anything other than the music that he is playing at that moment. If he makes a mistake, which he sometimes does, I've heard it, he doesn't care, it doesn't register, he keeps on going. He's just flowing with it because that's how his mind works. If you watch this fantastic clip from John Scofield playing a blues, I find this the perfect example of that. You can tell he is just going for it. He's flowing. Doesn't matter what's going on. To me, it's absolutely magic happening on stage. So you can see that Scofield is just, that's coming right out of him. He's not playing any licks. Obviously, he's played a blues a million times, but you can tell he's not editing what he's playing as he goes along. Did he suddenly become that way? Of course not. He has practiced improvising and allowing himself to be creative. Now, of course, this comes with confidence, but how else do you build that confidence? You have to practice being creative. If you listen to someone like Paul McCartney speak about songwriting, he sets aside time to work on his songs. Billy Joel talks about it all the time, too. So one great book that I can recommend, it's just tons of fun. It's John Cleese's book on creativity. It's very short, and it's almost impossible not to read it in his voice. I'm an absolute Monty Python fanatic my whole life. So it's been great. And he talks about putting aside hours to be creative, because lots of times it won't happen until a little while in. And not editing yourself as you try to create. The power of a mistake. Mistakes can often lead to the coolest things that I've ever come up with. You just start to kind of cut loose, and if you make a mistake, you're like, oh, that was a mistake, but that actually sounded kind of cool. So let me kind of roll with that. So that's when, if I'm improvising on something and I come up with, if I'm practicing being creative and I come up with this weird idea, I might stop and see what I can do with that. Or I'll just try to let the idea go. If I hit wrong notes, it's okay, because sometimes those wrong notes can turn out to be beautiful notes and take you to this place that you never thought that you had inside, because you're worried about, am I playing in tune? Is my tone good? Oh man, what would my friends think about that? I'm not as good as Robin Ford or John Scofield. I'm not as good as those guys. So why do I bother? Those guys just didn't pick up the guitar and sounded amazing. It's because they have this ability and they understand that there is an art to being creative that needs to be practiced. All right, so how do I recommend you practice being creative? The main thing is you need to put aside the time for it. And John Cleese talks about that. And any person who is really good at what they do puts aside the time to be creative. And it's like on their calendar, it is sacred time for them. One of the things that strikes me as being a father is when you look at my son when he was younger playing, they were just freedom, right? They would just play. He would play all the time with his friends, this crazy playing. They didn't care if they did the thing wrong or if they colored outside the lines or anything like that. They were just into experiment and playing. That's the kind of approach you need to take when you're playing the guitar as well, or music or anything. Just see what happens. And you're not hurting anyone. It's just you at home jamming to something. That's important. Or if you're in a rehearsal space or you jam with your friends, just go for it. That's what I love on gigs, and this is why I love improvised music so much, is sometimes I just want to go for it and just see what happens. And like I said in that John Scofield video, he's just going for it, and there's some magical moments. So we need to practice being relaxed enough to allow those moments to happen, and we need to practice not being judgmental of our own playing at that moment, or to wonder what somebody else is thinking. The second you get in your head like, oh man, I'm sounding pretty good right now, boom, like I'm out, and it all goes out the window and it's terrible. So you need to get into this state where you're not judging, you're in it and you're around it. So it's kind of a meditative thing. I'm not really a new agey guy, but this is real stuff. Like when you're playing with a bunch of great musicians and you're in it, it's weird. What I love about jazz and blues, it's that creative thing where you're having a conversation with somebody else and you're creating a moment in time. And that's what I strive for. You can start to work on that at home by practicing and just going for it. And even if at the end of the day you think it sounds terrible, you were practicing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video about some of the philosophy I have about playing guitar. I threw this together really quickly because I just feel very passionately about this. If you like my channel, please hit like and subscribe and go over to JM Guitar Lessons, and please sign up for the YouTube freebies, and I will see you on the next video.